Let me show you how quick and simple it is to get started with Encore. I'm using a Mac for this example, so we can use brew to install, but Encore is also supported for both Windows and Linux. But once Encore is installed, we have access to the Encore CLI. So let's run Encore app create to create a brand new app. Encore supports both Go and TypeScript, but let's pick TypeScript here. And then we get the choice to pick from a few different getting started templates, and I'm gonna go with the Hello World one. And after naming our app, Encore proceeds to set up a Git repo for us, download the dependencies needed, and the template code. And that's it. Let's take a look at our brand new app. This is our project, and in the root we have the encore.app file, which includes the ID that Encore has given our app. And this will become relevant later when we call the deployed version of our app. But now let's explore the code. So in this example includes two files, hello.ts and a test file. Hello.ts includes one API endpoint definition. With Encore, you create an endpoint by calling Encore's API function, passing in an option object and a callback. And in this case, we want to expose this endpoint publicly. We specify that it takes GET requests, and then we set the path, which in this case includes a dynamic path parameter named name. We also specify the response type, which in this case is just an object with a key of message. The body of the function concatenates hello with the path parameter and then returns the response object. So how this works is that when you run Encore, Encore will parse the code, recognize that this is an endpoint, and create all the needed infrastructure to make it callable. So no boilerplate or setup code is needed. Encore automatically handles authentication, HTTP routing, request validation, error handling, observability, and even API documentation, which we will look at shortly. Now let's go back to our terminal and start the app locally, and we do that by running Encore run. And just like that, your local development environment is up and running. No Docker Compose files or hacky scripts to mirror the production environment. The app is now available on port 4000, and you also have access to Encore's local development dashboard through your browser. Here you get tools like the API Explorer that you can use to test shoot your APIs, the service catalog for automatically generated API documentation, Flow, which is an architectural diagram of your system that is always up to date, and more. Whenever you make changes to your app, Encore recompiles and hot reloads the local development dashboard. So what you see is always a representation of your current app state. From here you also have access to the AI lab, where you can quickly design and create new services and APIs with the help of AI. Let's go back to the API Explorer and verify that our endpoint works as expected. It works! We have easy access to the response object and the request log, but not only that, this also generated a trace which we can inspect and see exactly which operations had to be performed to answer the request. We get to peek under the hood, which can be invaluable when debugging a problem, especially in a distributed system. Local tracing is a huge time saver, and with Encore you get it without needing to do any instrumentation. So be sure to check out the local development dashboard, because having it at your disposal eliminates the need for a lot of other third-party apps. Now let's deploy our app. We go back to the terminal one last time to stage and commit our changes. Because Encore set up our Git repo for us, we also have a special remote called Encore, which we can use to trigger a deploy from right here inside the terminal. But if we want, we can also trigger deploys by connecting our app to GitHub. When we click the link, we get to the deploy page on Encore's cloud dashboard. And here we can follow along in the build, test and deployment process. Encore provisions all of the needed cloud infrastructure for your app. And not only the cloud primitives you declare in your code using the Encore SDK, like APIs, databases and pubsub, but also network configurations, IAM policies and everything needed to create a secure and performant cloud application. Once this process has finished, this app will get deployed to Encore Cloud, which is completely free. But Encore also lets you deploy your applications to AWS or GCP using your own cloud account. This lets you use Encore to improve your experience and productivity while keeping the reliability of a major cloud provider. And you can configure how you want to deploy your applications using either serverless or Kubernetes. Now that the app is deployed, let's head over to the service catalog and test the deployed version of our app. Success! We now have a deployed app available on the internet. The cloud dashboard is filled with functionality to help you monitor and keep track of your deployed applications. If we, for example, take a look at our environment overview page, we can see metrics and request logs that will be populated once we get some real user data. You can also create additional environments for other use cases like testing and production, and each environment can have different configurations and be deployed to different clouds. And if you connect your app to GitHub, you can even get automatic preview environments for all pull requests. Traces are also, of course, available for deployed environments. And here we can see the trace that got generated when we called our API through the service catalog just a few seconds ago. That's the basics you need to know in order to get started with Encore. Now it's your turn. Go to encore.dev to install Encore and explore more with our tutorials. Or join our Discord community to ask questions. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the cloud.